Hello, beautiful human. I am Zach. That is Dan. And we welcome to the studio for the first time ever, Tinashe.
Hey.
Woo. Thanks for having me.
Yay. Thanks for being here. And thanks for giving us your time and energy. You are really fascinating.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, you've had quite the career as an artist. That's like, I don't know. Like, I keep thinking you've been through so much. And there's been so much music we haven't heard.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I gotta break it all down.
Sure.
Because, like, by the way, notes, you have quite the illustrious career.
It's been a journey. It's been a journey.
Yeah, but
Thank you, though.
We are here, though, with a brand new album and a brand new era.
Yes. Baby Angel.
This has to mean the most to you.
Yeah. I mean, every step of the way when you put out like a new body of work, it's like, I feel like it's like another chapter, like marks like another part of the journey, and I feel like I'm just keep going like up. So that's exciting.
But this is the fullest circle because you start as an independent artist, and then you go into the label system, and then you come out as an independent artist.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is the product of that second generation of being, the second time around of being an indie.
Yeah, I guess. Well, this is kind of like the third because I had 333 also, and then Songs for You. So those were two. But yeah, it's been kind of fun to be able to kind of re-enter that space and kind of re-find like a sense of creative freedom and like, I guess, a sense of like who I am and what I want as an artist and a creative. And I think that that's why I'm making like arguably my best work now, you know?
Do you lose who you are as an artist when you're in the process of making 200 songs for a single album?
No, but I do think that, you know, there's something to be said for, you know, when you're kind of like playing the game. Like that's when I feel like I like maybe got like just a little bit lost in the sauce when I was trying to like compete or I was trying to like fit into a particular mold, like this would sound good on the radio or like this would sound good in this particular space or this particular space, as opposed to just like focusing on just making the best art or like not even caring about like what's relevant or what's cool or like what sounds good right now and just kind of focusing on making whatever I want. So yeah, that's the vibe now.
But did you put yourself into that, or did the executives around you force you into that?
Which?
This place of not making the art that you want, but making the art that you feel like you need.
I think it was...
Or they need.
I wouldn't say anyone forced me. I just think it was... I mean, I was heavily advised, but then I also want to be a good collaborator as well. And I want to, like... I trusted the people that I worked with, like, in terms of, like, my label and, like, other producers and people who have, like, 20 years of experience and whatever. So if they're like, well, you should do something like this, I'm at least going to take it into consideration, you know? I'm just trying to kind of navigate the space myself. So I think it took a while for me to, like, really realize that was even happening, because it didn't feel like it was happening at first. Like I really felt like, okay, I'm making what I want to make, and then it was like you compromise like one little thing, like, oh well, maybe we should just make it like a little more like this, or we should make it a little bit, you know what I mean? Like it's very slow burn, and then one day you wake up and you're like, wait, hang on,
who the fuck am I?
Yeah,
what is this?
What's going on? Yeah,
that's... Do you feel defeated at all after making 200 songs and them not ever being heard by the public? Except for what's being... and then, like, do you feel defeated?
Okay, so the biggest time that I felt defeated when I had, like, a huge amount of songs was when I had an album called Joyride that I really wanted to put out. And my label sat on the album for, like, 4 years. So that was the biggest chunk of music that I had that I like didn't know what to do with. I was just keep making records and records and records for years, and I was like, where are we going? We're just spinning our wheels. Like there's no actual direction here. Like let's just put this out. Like I ended up making a second project, Night Ride, in the meantime, like because I just had so much music that I was making.
Well, why was Night Ride allowed to come out but Joyride wasn't?
Because they said it was a mixtape. So like they didn't promote it. They didn't playlist it. They didn't do any of the things that they didn't put in the money that they would put in for an album. They just let me put it out to kind of appease me, which was kind of, well, obviously disappointing, because you feel like, well, this is kind of set up to fail in this particular instance. But at the same time, that album is like it's a fan favorite. So I think that that's kind of cool and like very ironic.
And just for, you know, you're hanging out with us, just so you know, like when these bodies of work were being created and released, it was a different time where the democratization of music wasn't what it is today.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like you needed, like independent artists existed. And yes, independent artists were able to build business and hire the machine around them to create the machine that promotes their music, but you still needed a machine.
Absolutely. The music industry has changed so much since I first started. It's absolutely wild. Like from selling physical CDs like in Target to like streaming and all of that. Like that wasn't even a factor when I first started making music. So it's just wild how much it's changed and like how you've had to adapt to that, and like also how the industry has adapted. Like, you know, like the inner workings of like whether it's the record label system or like how they're kind of responding to artists that they're signing, you know, signing people that are like big on TikTok now. Like a lot of artists complain like, oh, my label only cares about you know, TikTok.
Well, because by the way, like from what I understand, the release strategy on a lot of the songs are exactly what they did to you with Night Ride, which is just release it.
Just drop it and see what happens.
But it's different now because TikTok exists and social media allows there to be this. You can crowdsource something, and one person can use something from that song, and everything's different. So when you drop, it's like if a tree falls in the woods, does anyone fucking hear it?
Sure.
But this day and age, like you can drop a song, and it does have the ability to be heard.
Absolutely.
In a way that before it couldn't.
Yeah, it's very true.
But they fucked you.
Yeah, I mean.
They did.
I mean, I've moved on.
Of course.
Okay.
But like because you have a huge hit, and then you go on to make all these songs, and before you sign to a major, you have huge mixtapes that set you up.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was the biggest like mind fuck for me, because when I initially signed to that label, like they loved my mixtape work. Like that was a big reason why, you know,
You're there.
I was there. So to me, I was like, okay, well, they obviously think that my opinion matters. Like obviously they would assume that if I'm in the studio and I'm like, oh, I would like this song versus this song, like that would matter to them because they initially chose me from like my creative discretion, right? And I think that was when I got really confused, when I realized that any song that I wrote, this is how I felt at least, all the songs that I wrote, they were like, oh, this is nice. And then like someone else would write a song and they'd be like, that's a hit, that's fire. So it very much over the course of like 5, 6, 7 years, I was signed to that label for 7 years. By the end, I was like, well, they obviously don't think I can write good stuff. So then I start, you know, it starts to mess with your head because you're like, well, maybe I can't write good stuff.
But the reality
I absolutely can.
Yeah, and you probably were sitting on great stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what would drive me neurotic.
Yeah.
Is like, you don't know what a song can do.
Of course not.
Unless you actually put it out there.
Mm-hmm. And I'm all like, I love to release. Like, I love to drop music. I love to just make music and drop music and have new songs to perform and new songs to play. And I definitely think that now, like you said, because it's changed. Nowadays, labels and, you know, the music industry is way more used to people dropping a lot more volume. But back then, it was very much like, if you don't prove yourself with the first single or the second single, like, we're not going to drop music for the rest of the year.
Well, and then what they end up doing is, because contracts are done not based on time spent in them, but based on projects created and released.
Yeah.
If they refuse to release it, that means you essentially get shelved and you can't go anywhere else.
Or if they decide to just call it a mixtape, then it doesn't
That's
even count
bullshit.
towards your contract.
But then it's what defines a mixtape over an album. And at the end of the day, a lot of that's determined at artist discretion.
Absolutely.
And maybe they can go based on how many tracks make up an album or whatever.
Sir, maybe, but like...
But not.
Yeah, because those were full lengths. You know, they weren't like shorter than any of my other albums.
They just didn't want you to go anywhere else.
Yeah.
That's fucking bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah. It was kind of crazy.
A lot of
kind of crazy experience.
Yeah, you must learn the most about the music industry.
Of course, yeah. I mean, it makes you tougher. It makes you stronger. It gives you a lot of perspective. I'm thankful that I went through all those experiences, because now I feel like I have just such a different like view on dropping music, and like I feel so much more free in that way. Like I don't have to subscribe to that, and that's like really nice. But yeah, it took a long time to kind of really be able to see the big picture, you know, because sometimes when you're in it, it's hard for you to really like process everything that's going on.
Yeah, because you're also just still trying to make art at the same fucking time.
Yeah, and just trying to like keep going day to day. Here we are. We made it.
So
what was the biggest adjustments going from a major label to an independent artist?
I mean, you don't have like the machine behind you. Like that's the biggest thing that you have to then figure out. You're like, well, who's going to fund my music videos? Who's going to like, you know, like these people in the space are competing with $200,000 music videos. And you're like, well, I don't have $200,000 to just spend, you know? So I think that's the number one thing is budget. And then also like, how are we going to market this? Like, what's my team? And you have to really kind of go back to square one. So I kind of like clean slated it and found like new management, new business manager, new lawyer, new everything. Cause I just really wanted to be like, this is fresh energy. I have to just kind of go back to my roots, and that's what I did.
By the way, like in doing that, you take all the knowledge that you've acquired, you go back to where it all began, and I think that's where the best shit comes from.
Yeah, I always say, like, when an artist makes their first project, that's when they're the most uninhibited and the most free, and that's, I think, why a lot of people always refer back to artists' first projects as like, oh, that was my favorite. And I have tried my best. I think through this process, it allowed me to get closer to that essence than like I would have otherwise. Like, it really allowed me to kind of feel like, okay, this is a clean slate again. Like, I could kind of find that pure, unfiltered, you know, just inspiration and just focus on that and not really care about like, will my label like it? Will someone like this? Like, if I like it, that's it. And that's all that matters. And that's so freeing, so liberating.
What story are you telling with this album?
This album is really like a snapshot, I think, of where I am right now. Like, it feels very much like I'm growing into myself as like a woman, an artist, and a human being. I turned 30 this year. So it was like, I think when you turn 30, I mean, in my experience, you feel like a lot more self-assured about a lot of the decisions that you're making and like who you are as an individual. And I think that's very much reflected in the music.
I, by the way, feel that. Understood. Turned 30 in May. So I do get it.
Yeah, 93.
Yeah, it's fucking different.
Yeah.
It really, like, you have a different outlook, a different perspective, and there is a sense of assurance, and like, you made it this far.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like, I don't know. You just have like a better edge to you. You gave me a little edge.
Yeah, I've lost fucks.
Yeah.
You know, I give less fucks.
I definitely give less fucks. It's good.
Yeah. Wow. I've been like thinking, like, I've noticed it in my actions and my demeanor.
Yeah.
But
and also like what you put up with and like what you agree with. You know, like if you don't want to do it,
I don't fucking do it.
Don't do it.
No.
1,000%.
And also, if I don't want you in my fucking life, then get the fuck out.
Right. 1,000%. If you're not going to like help build me, if you're not going to contribute in a positive
I'll do the
way
same for you.
You do not have to just be in my circle or like be in my mind space. Like, that's not productive.
That's, oh God, inject that right here. That's the right fucking energy. Because at the end of the day, like, there is something to, like, and I think the biggest thing I've learned so far being 30 is like, toxic bad energy. If you don't rid yourself of that, it's hard to fucking breathe. And you'll never let anything clean or pure into your zone.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
It's not until you rid yourself of that anything that's positive or pure can come in.
Energy vampires are real.
Oh.
Like, that stuff is for real. Like, if you have like a darkness, like in your space, in your circle, in your camp, whatever, it's going to suck the energy out of, you know, whoever has that energy. They're just going to find it and, okay, now it's mine.
Because negativity is the strongest force.
Absolutely.
And you are the company you keep. So
who are you working with on this album? Like, who are these collaborators that you're finding that you can like grow with?
Okay, well, two that I really enjoyed working with on this album. The first one I'll talk about is, his name is Machine Drum, and he did 3 records on this project, so he had the most that like made the cut. I really loved working with him because he has kind of like an electronic sensibility, so he definitely brings, like, the tracks that he would bring into the studio would be like so out there and so left of center and like so weird that I was very inspired by them, because I think a lot of times it's harder to go from like a very basic beat instrumental vibe into something like really unique and cool, as opposed to going the opposite direction. Like, for me, it's more fun and more interesting to start with something that sounds so out there. Like, I can't really wrap my head around this. Like, this is really weird and different, and then kind of try to like mold it back into something that feels like palatable and listenable and like cool and catchy. So that was a really fun process of just working with somebody who is an ultra creative, because that's really inspiring for me. So Machine Drum, he was amazing to work with. No Such Thing is another one that, you know, I really vibed with on this album. And, you know, we're going to make more stuff too coming up soon. We have like some more studio sessions. I'm always making music. I'm always making new stuff. It's fun.
And now you can actually release it.
And I can actually drop it. Yay.
Who's Baby Angel?
Who is it?
Is it you?
Yeah, yeah. I find it like when I get into a new era, I kind of like to put almost like in my mind, I have to associate it with like a certain character.
I get it.
And like, that's who I feel I'm embodying for this era. You know, it's like, it's very soft, it's very self-assured, but it's also like very calm and like, I don't know. it feels like I'm trying to kind of create a persona that I can latch onto and that I can lean into for this particular era.
But rooted in your reality and your truth.
Yeah, of course. It's never something that's like totally conceptual for me. Like, I think that's another thing that I really wanted to get across with this project is authenticity. So it is definitely me. It comes from who I am at like a very core level. And I also wanted to show like a rawness and like a realness that maybe I hadn't in the past. Or like when I first got in the game, like a lot of people would be like, you're so mysterious, like we don't know who you are, like we just can't wrap our brain around you. So I think like over the years it's been like a process of me, like I guess reintroducing myself over and over again till the point where people are like, okay, I get you now. You know what I mean?
I understand that.
Yeah.
So God, I have so much on my mind because like people saying that they don't understand you or know you is crazy because there's a lot of information out there on you and you are incredibly fascinating.
Thanks.
And then also on top of that, like, I don't know, you've been doing this a long fucking time and you're doing it in a different way now, but you're doing it in your way. How is this alter ego different than the last alter ego that you released a couple songs under? There was no album. It ended up getting, I think, another album that got shelved, but you had an alter ego before.
You're talking about Tinashe?
Yeah.
Well, Tinashe, okay, so Tinashe was kind of like a persona that I really embodied when it was around the time when I was getting ready to leave my label. And I was just feeling a lot more rowdy and brash and in your face. And I also went through like this crazy breakup in the public and I just like was feeling like blah, like I just wanted to be really... It felt like I was stepping into the persona of like, I don't give a fuck. Like, you know, like that's the Tinashe persona. And I still love to tap into that persona from time to time. And like on stage, I feel very much like her because I feel so ultra confident. So like, I don't need anyone. Like, this is me. Like that feels very Tinashe. But I think BB Angel, which is kind of like where I am right now, it doesn't feel as brash or as in your face or as crazy as that. Like it's a little bit more subdued, it's a little bit more calm, it's a little bit more deep and like a little bit more cerebral. So that's where I am now versus then.
Is it introspective?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the interesting thing about a lot of these songs is there is kind of like a paradox in a lot of them because they kind of talk about like how you maybe want to do something but you know better, or you know maybe something's kind of like toxic but you're kind of still trying to figure out how you're going to navigate that situation. So I think that that's the introspectiveness, is being able to like see the paradoxes for what they are and to like really like lay out the contradictions there.
So a record like None of My Business, do you really want it to be all of your business?
No, maybe. Maybe a little. No, I feel like that song is really kind of about like making a decision to like be with someone or to like move into something when you know 100% that it's like super toxic and you just kind of are taking that with a grain of salt and just kind of going for it anyways. And I think that that's like definitely a decision that like a lot of people make like in their late 20s, you know, like when you're kind of dealing with these immature relationships and you know this isn't going to be forever, but like there's still something and you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm just gonna, if you're doing something that I don't really care to know about, like I actually don't give a fuck to know about that. Like this is not about that. Like this is about me and my needs, and right now like I'm just gonna do whatever I'm gonna do because even though you're super toxic, like that's just how I feel. So yeah, that's kind of what None of My Business is about.
I feel understood.
Yeah, we've all been there.
I just navigated that for the last few months. It was like this very much like I know you're toxic, but also like I'm definitely in love with you, so I'm putting up with it. And like,
sure,
I know you're doing a bunch of really disgusting, dirty shit, but I'm choosing to turn a blind eye.
Of course, yeah.
Even though like when I ask you about it and you lie to me and I know you're clearly lying, I just choose to put up with it.
How long do you stay in that situation?
I mean, I think this mindset is like the step before you get out of it, because there's like a level down from that where you're still kind of caught up in it and you still have like hope that like maybe it's going to be better. Like you're still kind of caught up in, you're lost in the sauce somewhat.
God,
and
yeah.
You're still like kind of like, well, maybe it'll be different.
I'm literally in the situation where I know this person is like literally fucking somebody else. And I'm like, nah, there's still hope. This
like,
is it.
No. They're going to change their mind.
Yeah, Instagram stalking my fucking self into oblivion.
Yeah.
And,
oh my God.
And it's like you don't want it to be your business because like what you don't know doesn't hurt you when but the reality is,
oh
like,
my
you
God,
want it
when
to
you go
be your
Instagram
only
stalking,
business.
that shit hurts so much. And you can't be mad at anyone but yourself because you definitely did it to yourself. And you're like, I'm about to do it. And you're like, no.
It's so
the
hard.
worst. But then I think, yeah, none of my business is kind of like the step after that. Like you've got to the point where you're not even looking at their gram anymore. But you're still dealing with them, but you're like not even paying attention anymore. So I think that that's like one step closer to like being healed, being rid of that kind of negativity and that negative energy. And I can think that that's more relevant to me right now.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's too real.
No, it is. I literally broke up.
It's too
You're
real.
telling his exact story.
No,
for the past few months.
I literally broke up with somebody this morning.
Damn,
Like,
I'm sorry. Well, or congrats.
I'm in a new
or-
relationship with somebody, and like this was a situationship, and it was toxic, and like they were fucking somebody else, and like
Yeah.
you know, it was just bad. It's bad.
Cut your losses.
Hard though.
So hard.
Hard when you like.
Way easier said than done.
Yeah, and when you really like, you know, and it's like even the breakup is like a days long process of like a lot of tears and
Days.
it's been
Try
hard.
years.
Yeah, see, that's like that freaks me out. Like
Yeah.
that's what scares me. It's like,
Yeah.
God, I'm gonna start sweating. And I'm in a new relationship. I like shouldn't even be thinking about it. It's like
Oh,
so
I'm
terrible.
sorry. You're just gonna have to listen to the song over and over and just process your emotions.
Yeah, fuck. Baby Angel, by the way, is waiting for you. There's a link in the description below. All of Tinashe's music is on Amazon Music.
Check it out.
Yeah, damn. That's all I'm, you know. No, because like, you know, you think to yourself like, fuck, like at a certain point I really thought I was perfect with this person.
Or you hoped that it could be.
Or it was so close to.
It was so close.
And then I think to
And it
myself,
slips
like,
through your fingers.
oh yeah, and if we didn't make, if like one of us maybe, you know, maybe made a slight bit
Couple
of,
different decisions.
or a little effort.
Yeah. Damn.
How do you handle relationships today? Because you are very private when it comes to that, other than that one
Super.
public one you were talking
But that's
about.
also because I just don't get in them.
You what? You just
don't get in them. So there's nothing for like anyone to really find out because I've literally been so single. It's been a long time. I gotta work on that.
Do you want to be single for the sake of art, or would you rather be in a relationship?
Honestly, for the sake of like traveling and like doing my shit, I enjoy being single way more. Like it's a much healthier mind state for me to be in because I'm like the type of girl who's like, if I'm in a relationship, I'm all in, like 100%. And being somebody who like still wants to tour and like still wants to grow as an artist and like doesn't want to like settle down and like have babies and stuff like that. It's like, I don't want to be all in. I can't be all in. I have other things that I, you know, still want to prioritize and focus on. So it feels very risky for me to, you know, get myself into romantic things. So I kind of, it's not that I like avoid it, but I don't put it as like a priority. I don't make it a big effort of something that I pursue. I kind of like, well, when something happens, it'll just happen. But I'm not sure if that's like how 2023 dating is anymore. I think you kind of have to make an effort
Yeah, you need to swipe
I don't
or
know.
something. I don't know.
or something. Yeah.
Meet somebody, be down.
But
to
like
do something.
even meeting people, like being out and about,
Sucks.
people, I feel like I don't like people don't approach you when you go to like a restaurant or a bar or something.
No, I
Not
did
really.
date somebody for a couple months that I just like met walking down the street.
That's cute.
Yeah, they were a porn star.
That's cute.
I was a virgin. It was really interesting.
Wow, that's a great dynamic.
Well, it lasted like 3.5 months until.
But
like,
wait, how did you like? Were you like?
how'd I figure it out?
No, just like how did you start a conversation? Like even walking down the street, I feel like you could see someone, but how do you start talking?
We
Give
literally
me some tips.
we caught each other's eye, and I complimented their outfit,
Okay, that works.
and then we started talking,
Yeah.
and then they started making out with me.
Wow.
On the street?
Yeah,
Lucky.
Whoa.
yeah.
That's never happened to me.
And then and then we exchanged information. I was like, I need to hang out with you.
Wow.
And it wasn't like 4 or 5 months later, we ended up going on our first date. And then maybe like 6 dates later, we were out.
You
and
found
I-
out they were a porn star.
No, I knew they were porn stars the whole time, and I loved it. Like,
Really?
We'd hang out on a Sunday, and they go over their schedule of all the men they were about to fuck this week.
Very open-minded of you.
Yeah, it was great. It was
All right.
hugely supportive.
I'm into that.
But I didn't. My support stopped when we were out, and I like looked away for 3 seconds, and when I turned back, they were making out with like a 70-year-old man.
Oh, so what was it? The 70-year-old part, or was it
That, like,
in your fate? It was it because you had to see it in real time,
No, it's just, like, talk-
or it was like off the clock. You know, like this is no longer business.
no, yeah, like it was just like tell me about it. You know what I mean? Like if we're on a date and we go to a
Sure.
bar and like you're like want to bring somebody else in / go hook up with somebody else. Like, I don't know, communicate that.
Right.
Let's talk about
You don't
it.
want to just like stumble onto it.
Yeah, I don't want to look to my left and then look to the right and he's making out with a geriatric.
Fair enough.
Yeah, he's sucking face with an AARP member.
Fair enough.
Ah,
Yeah.
Dude,
I can feel you.
thanks. I feel understood today. Thank you so much. Sorry to
Trauma dump.
Yeah, trauma dump. Show up to this fucking studio with all my baggage. I got a fucking luggage cart.
It's funny. We all are, right?
It's sad. Well, is this like when you look at this album?
Yeah.
What is it once it's all said and done to you? Like, is it a diary? Is it a trauma dump? Is it you sharing exactly who you are and who you want to be?
Yeah, it's like a timestamp.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a journal, I guess, in that way, because it feels. Even, you know, what's really interesting is even some of the songs on this album, I don't even feel this way today, but I felt that way when I wrote them, which was, 6 months to a year ago, because I've been working on this project for 2 years. So a lot of these records, I didn't make them like a week ago.
How'd you know it was done?
You just kind of, I think it's done when you get like a bit, for me at least, I don't know if this is the case for everyone, but I'll get like a big group of records and I'll listen to them all, like say 50 records, right? And I'll listen to them all over and over and over and over and over and over again. And then eventually a certain group of those kind of raise their hand, and they're the ones that like I'll keep kind of looking back to or referring to, or kind of stand out. And then I kind of battle royale my songs. Like this is what I did for this particular project. I put a bunch of the songs on little pieces of paper. I like put them all on a table, and then I'd be like, this one or this one, that one wins. Then I go to the next one, and be like this one or this one, that one wins.
So the
and then,
TikTok filter.
Yeah, no, I'd literally like battle royale my songs until I got to like the ultimate group that then could not beat each other out.
How many songs did you make for the album?
I don't know exactly, but probably close to over 50. Probably like 75. I don't know.
I was
I'd have to
surprised there was
fact-check
only
that.
7 on there, considering you make so much music.
Yeah. Well, I have more, There's always, you have to kind of think also like future wise, because I don't like to just like leave with absolutely nothing for what's coming next, because I like to be able to kind of create, like I said, a universe. And then if I'm going to go on tour and stuff, for like, which I am, I'm going on tour.
With Shy Girl?
Yeah, with Shy Girl in the end of October, November. You want to like be still excited about some stuff that you have in the vault. You don't want to feel like, when I get back, I'm going to have nothing. I'm going to have to start at square one. So I definitely still have a lot of records that like I'm vibing to.
A record like, My whole life is Where does that start?
That one, interestingly enough, it was very just instinctual. Like it was very like I had this music, like the producer was not in the room with me. I think they emailed me that beat. So like I had a beat that I was like, oh, this is really, I don't know, speaking to me. Sometimes I just put it into, my studio. I just go downstairs. I have an engineer. He'll record me. And I kind of just freestyled that song. Like that song was very whatever comes out. And I think that kind of is why it's so simple in a way, because I wasn't overthinking it. I wasn't trying to make it into some like real complex artist statement. Like it just is a feeling. It just is a vibe. It just is an essence that like I was feeling on that particular day. And so yeah, that's how that came out. Just kind of vibing.
Is that usually how your process works?
Yeah.
Or do you write lyrics to production, write lyrics and then match the production? What is it?
Well, okay, the only thing that probably changes is if the producer's like in the room or not. Like, are we starting from scratch and making like a brand new beat, or like is it something that I already have? And like I like both. I like to be able to I like to be by myself a lot of times when I first start writing. So that's why I like beats that are like already kind of created, because then no one has to be in the room with me. But then once I've kind of like gotten to a vibe, then maybe I'll start working with people and we'll start building songs from the ground up. Like we'll start with sounds and like, okay, once we get something going, then I'll go into the booth and like start freestyling melodies, vibes, lyrics. But it really does always come from like a very instinctual place for me. Like whatever first comes out, I think is usually my best, whatever your first instinct is usually like the coolest one. So yeah, some songs are, that'll happen and the whole song will come out like very quickly. And then sometimes you have like a framework of a song that you like, but you need to excavate it a little bit more. Like maybe you want to like revisit a verse and like rewrite the lyrics because the lyrics just weren't hitting. Or like there's a part of the song where you kind of lose interest and you're like, okay, well maybe we need to like flip this, revisit it, whatever. But I think you start with your blueprint of just like gut, instinct, and feeling.
That's... At what point do you know it's time to bring it to somebody else?
Like a producer?
Yeah.
If I feel like because a lot of times when I have this blueprint, like a rough draft or something, right? Then it'll be like, okay, how could this be better? A lot of times when you have made a song in a different room than a producer made a beat, there is like a little bit of a disconnect between the two. So then it's important to be able to like get back in the room and be like, okay, now that there is this, what elements can we add? What elements can we take out? Like, how can we make this sound even more complete? Because usually when you're like writing to a beat, it's pretty like skeleton drums and like synth, you know.
Do your songs sound great acoustic?
I think
they do
so.
Produced?
Yeah, I think so, because a lot of times it'll start with literally like just a few instruments at first. And like that's how it then gets kind of crazy afterwards when we're just like, let's do this, let's switch things out. But to be fair, for this particular project, I didn't go like acoustic in terms of like instruments.
Yeah.
Like I kept it pretty electronic when it came to the instrumentation. There wasn't too many live instruments with this one, which was kind of a choice on purpose.
By the way, Baby Angel is waiting for you. You can listen to all of Tinashe's music too. It's on Amazon Music. I had no idea that you were Polar Express famous.
Oh my gosh. TBT.
Yeah, you were, but you didn't lend your voice to it.
No, I was the motion cap. We shot it right here at the Paramount lot. Literally right there. Yeah, I was in 4th grade and we had to come in every day and wear these like big motion capture suits. Like it was in the very early days of mocap technology, so it took them like 4 years to like animate it. And if you watch that movie, the animation is so weird now. Like it's crazy that it took them that long to make something that looks so weird. But yeah, we had all the little dots and the electrodes. It was a really cool experience working with Tom Hanks. And also what was really cool was because we weren't actually on real sets. It was all in a studio and they would build the sets out of wires.
Oh wow.
So that they could like see through like the walls or like the floor or whatever. So they could, because pretty much all they're capturing is the information they're getting from the electrodes on your outfit.
Wild.
So yeah, it was very like make-believe-y because, you know, a lot of times when you're acting, you're like in a real room or like in a real space and you can get a little bit more into character that way. But this was like, we're really pretending. Like this is a train made out of wires, you know?
Were you doing lines or were you just
Yeah,
there
we
for
were reading the lines, but then
physicality?
they re-recorded all of the audio. So it was like we acted out the entire movie and created the entire film, you know, with no dialogue, and then they dubbed the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
What a cool thing to just be a part of.
Yeah, I got to do, I've done some cool stuff in my life. I've got to be a part of like some really cool stuff.
And you're a meme from that. Like you are like that girl's a meme.
The girl on the train.
Insert meme here, please.
The little pigtails.
Yeah, iconic.
Yeah.
I also had no idea that you were in the LA version of 13 the musical, kind of.
I was. Yeah, I was the first cast in 13. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, it was fun.
That's wild.
Yeah.
My friends are in the
Broadway?
Yeah, the original Broadway one.
Yeah, that's
On
awesome.
the East Coast.
I thought of going there, but at the time I was in a girl group. I got offered to go,
Really?
which is like kind of crazy. But I couldn't make the commitment at the time because I just joined a girl group called the Stunners, and we were going to go on tour with Justin Bieber. And I was like, I want to go on tour.
Oh, fuck yeah. But then you end up like, but that's when I first like started hearing of you, like around Justin Bieber era.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like, because, you know, I've been doing this for like 17 years now
Yeah.
or something.
I'm sure, yeah.
And yeah, how weird is that?
What tour was that?
My World Tour.
Yeah, My World 2.0.
My World
Did you guys open
2.0.
for him at Madison Square Garden?
No, I didn't. I don't think we were in that show. We went like, we were kind of like the Midwest run and then the West Coast.
Okay.
So like he might have had someone else on the East Coast.
Were you in
but
that
we didn't do it.
Nickelodeon movie?
one?
Schoolgirls? No, I'm kidding. No, that's not. But I think the
It's like, which
Stunners,
one?
the Stunners were like some Nick Cannon girl group or something.
No. But there was, yeah, everyone was trying to make a girl group back then.
Yeah, it was wild
Yeah,
time.
everyone was trying to make one. It
What
was
am I-
cool. It was a learning experience. It wasn't what I really wanted to do, but it was fun.
I mean, Broadway's different too.
For sure.
8 shows a week.
I would love to do Broadway at some point.
It is the most validating of one's talent, right?
Because because you have to do it live.
Oh yeah, and not like just once, like, and not just like once every 4 days, 3 days in the most pampered environment. Nah, bitch. Like you were there, fucking 8 shows a week, like nobody's business, 2 shows a day, and your dressing room is shared. Yeah, and your dressing room is a tiny closet shared with 4 people.
Yeah, but even then, like, I don't even think I really processed like all that Broadway-ishness because I was like 16.
Yeah.
So in my mind, it was kind of like we would just all kind of go live somewhere, and I'd have to do like summer camp with a bunch of friends, like theater camp. It felt like I would be going to theater camp, as opposed to like real like Broadway as an adult sounds different to me than back then.
It was like
interesting.
Yeah, it was like also one of the coolest music videos. Why was musicals 13? Just in the way it was set up, and like fun. I think the orchestra was young kids too. It was like
we did it at the Mark Taper Forum here in LA, and it was cool because they had it, in the round and. It was just a really fun show.
And it's weirdly, it was the first thing I had ever been offered free tickets to.
Really?
Yeah. And
did you go?
The one here?
In New York. Yeah. And I did go to their second opening night, and then it wouldn't be till years later that I ended up becoming friends like with half that cast.
That's cool.
Yeah, very weird. Universe is fucking crazy.
I mean, small world.
That's right.
Especially in the industry.
Yeah, it's nuts. Talk to Me Nice. Why was that the first single to reintroduce this, to reintroduce yourself, but also to kind of usher in this era?
I feel like Talk to Me Nice, kind of like back to what we were saying before, it really encompasses like the mind state that I'm in. Like, I just want people to kind of like approach me where I'm at. I want people to like meet me at my level. I'm not trying to like,
totally
make any type of compromises. So Talk to Me Nice feels very like, what do you got for me? Like, what, I'm kind of just trying to, from a lyrical perspective. And then sonically, I think the reason I chose it was because it kind of embodies the entire album to me. Like, it feels kind of experimental. It feels kind of like between genres. There's like a little of this, a little of that. It goes like on a whole journey and like shifts halfway through the song. So I felt like it was very me. So I don't know. I just thought it like encompassed everything I wanted.
That explains you shedding your skin in the music video.
Yeah. Well, that was because it was the initial song from this era. So I really wanted to show, like, very literally that I was kind of getting rid of the old and kind of making way for the new, like maybe demasking or like peeling back layers and kind of getting to like the raw, real me and like, very stripped back, like no makeup, like just very intimate. Like I wanted that to be the vibe of this era. Like you can see my skin, like you can see the goosebumps on my arms, like you can feel like you're very close. Like when you hear the songs themselves, they sound like I'm talking directly to you or like whispering in your ear. They're very intimate, a lot of these songs. So.
That's what you said, like you want this album to feel like you're whispering in your fans'
Yeah, very
ears.
intimate. That's my goal.
And this is yours. It's 100% yours. There's nobody else interfering.
Yay.
By the way, Baby Angel is existing. You can listen to it. It's all on Amazon Music. Link in the description below.
Nobody's interfering, but what made you want to sign with Nice Life?
Nice Life was a really cool opportunity because I feel like I didn't want to sign to a major, but I really wanted to figure out like how do I, like what's the next step for me in terms of like finding a team that can help me like to get to the next level or like what, just reach more places, like be in more people's ears, like have more conversations, just a bigger team, like a bigger support system. So I was like, okay, I've been like totally independent for like 4 years now. Like what's the next step? And like, how can I kind of like dip my toe back into like a label system without it being like
a label system
scary? So they very, very, very much like totally accepted the art that I was making, like didn't try to like change it, manipulate it, like heard everything that I was doing, was like, that's fire, that's dope, like you want to put that out, like let's put it out. And I was like, boom, now you're talking my language, let's put shit out. So yeah, it felt like a perfect meeting of people who really understand and respect my artistry, and I didn't feel like I was pressured to like mold, change, make any of those things that felt label-y.
Can I ask, like attached to things that felt label-y, would you put in that category the songs you did with R. Kelly and Chris Brown?
Oh, you think I wanted? I literally I block out that R. Kelly song from my mind. I forget that even exists. That is so embarrassing. That is so unreal that I even have a song with R. Kelly. That's so embarrassing. No. Like, yes, that was labeling.
Yeah, knowing you, it actually like hurts me that like somebody put you in that position and
I was
forced
so
you to
young
do
too, which is crazy because I feel like I did that song when I just signed to that label. Like I was probably like 20.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
And I think the public perceives it as you doing
Of
that
course.
willingly and not understanding that like you lack a lot of control in that situation.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, you do. 1,000%.
If any, like you probably like.
And especially when it comes to singles, like for example, that song with Chris, that was a song that I put, a lot of like, we all wanted it to be like this big moment, this big single. So I feel like in their mind, they were like, you need this support. And he was like their biggest artist that they had on rhythmic radio at the time. And to me, I was like, well, this is a pop song. So I really don't feel like we should put Chris on it. Like that, I don't like that. That doesn't compute to me, but I don't know.
Your computation was 100% correct.
I don't know. Thanks. I don't know. Hindsight's 20/20.
No, but you can also look back and realize that like you were in a position where there was a bunch of people who positioned themselves as knowing more than you.
Yeah.
And being the be all end all and the decision makers and essentially the gatekeepers to a career that you've been working for and dedicated your entire fucking life to.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
The power dynamic is the pendulum is not swinging in your favor.
Not at all. And like you said, there's something to be said for like the fact that there's only so many times you can like push back. There's only so much that you can like be like, no, I'm not going to do this, because you want to be successful as well. Like you want to put your music out. You want to be like, if this is the way that I'm going to be able to get my art out or my single out, then like I'm just going to have to like commit to this. Like I'm just going to have to, convince myself that like this is the right thing to do. And so that's why I think it's easy for me to look back on it and be like, yeah, but at the time I did want, like there was a part of me that was still, excited or like thankful or like grateful or like hopeful that, like this, maybe this will work. Like maybe this, I am collaborating with like a very successful artist. Like, I don't know, this isn't like fully bad. Maybe it doesn't make full sense to me, but like, there's some type of like compromise and like me just trying to like figure out how to navigate that scenario as well. Because I wasn't like totally anti-label either at the time. I was like, well, we're working together. This is like a team, Well,
you have to work with them, because if you don't work with them, they get annoyed.
Won't put your shit
they
out.
don't put your music out.
Shelved.
So, yeah. So what do you do? Like, again, how many times can you fight before they choose to put you on the shelf?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, it's a real thing. And it definitely messes with your head in terms of like when you think but you're like, okay, maybe I don't know.
And that.
I don't know. And then when it doesn't work, then it's like...
But
like, who do you blame?
At the end of the day, you put out what you want to put out and what you feel fulfilled by and passionate around.
Now I do.
Yeah, and that's back then. Like, like by the way, like you were right every time there.
Well, thank you.
Like, obviously, like we look at the receipts.
The receipts.
Yeah. Do you have any advice to artists that are, I don't know, like figuring out their own situation or maybe in a position where they are either on a shelf or heading towards a shelf?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think my biggest thing for artists who are signed, maybe? Or
signed and unsigned, all of it.
Okay, well, those are kind of two different things. For someone who is unsigned, my biggest piece of advice would be to get your hands dirty in terms of learning how to create your own music from like every angle, especially as like a woman. I think a lot of times when it comes to like engineering and producing, there's never, I wouldn't say never, there's very few women in the space. Very, very, very few. Even as I was coming up in this game, I probably worked with like 1 or 2 female engineers over a decade.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. Some occupations are just heavily gendered for some reason, and engineering is one of them, I guess. Audio engineering is one of them, I guess, which is just really interesting. So it's been like an important part of my career to like encourage young people, young women, to like learn how to record yourself, learn how to produce, learn how to run Pro Tools, learn how to cut your own vocals, learn how to vocal produce yourself so that you don't have to rely on anyone else to make your music. Because at the end of the day, if you can make dope music, then you don't need anyone. So that's my biggest piece of advice for someone who's just kind of starting. And then if you're in a label scenario and you're kind of like butting heads with your label, like my biggest piece of advice in that scenario, it's hard to navigate, but I think it's important to kind of just zoom out, like slow down, like pace yourself, zoom out, and know deep down that whatever you think and your instinct is the right instinct, because your fans and the audience and everyone will know if you're not 100% behind it. They'll know if your heart's not in it. So you got to just stand up for yourself, even if it seems hard.
I appreciate you.
Of course, I appreciate you.
Dan, what are you thinking?
What was the strategy behind making the track list impossible to read?
Because it's fun.
It is fun.
It's like a scavenger hunt.
Yeah, a lot of people thought, what was it?
I really enjoyed while everyone was trying to figure out what it
think
was
that's
all day.
called
They were
win.
like, win. I was like, no. I also just thought it looked cool.
It does look cool. People also thought tightrope was tis at top.
Tis top, tight top,
Yeah,
tight
something
top.
like that. I'm like, no, you guys are wrong as hell.
Yep. But it was kind of fun to see the theories. People would be like, question mark? Like, just trying to, and people would be filling in the blanks. I don't know. I really love, like, putting Easter eggs and, like, kind of creating scavenger hunts and, like, fun ways for, like, the fans to be interactive with my art as well. Like, I think that it creates, like, a fun dynamic between us. So,
We love a game.
yeah. Why not?
Do you feel like you're underrated?
In ways, yeah, absolutely. But I don't, like, embody underrated energy, if that makes sense. Like, I definitely think that I am underrated, but I don't like to feel like an underdog because I think that that's kind of like just like a negative perspective to have on yourself. Like, if you think of yourself as like less than, like, who's going to think of you as more? So I don't like to like internalize that.
Baby Angel is waiting for you. Click it. Also, Tinashe's music, the whole entire catalog is on Amazon Music. Anything else?
Yeah, last thing is I think the Needs music video proves that you don't need a major big label budget to make a cool video.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah.
I definitely don't think so. You need a great idea. You need to be creative, and you need to get like really specific when you get to mood boarding your video about like all the different things you want to accomplish within the realm of possibility. Like, say we had a concept, okay, we're going to do it in a grocery store. First thing I think of is like all the different locations that we can shoot in a grocery store that like feel cool, unique, and like how we can go beat by beat to be able to accomplish these all to like really create a narrative and a story in that space. So I think it's all about just getting creative, being specific, and executing it.
Was being covered in lunch meat on the mood board?
It was, yeah, it was.
Was it really?
It was. Initially, my inspo was, Sex in the City, Samantha, when she's like laying out with like sushi all over her body. So in the song, when I say my body's a buffet, that was the first thing I thought of. I was like, well, I have to be like and then I thought of the grocery store specifically, and then I was like, well, obviously I have to be in the deli meat buffet section. Like I have to be with the deli meats. Have to. And so then we built a whole broad of turkey, and I smelled the whole way home. It was really gross, but it was worth it.
Paid off.
Do it for the art.
Yeah, do it for the art.
Tinashe, I appreciate you.
Thank you.
I had no idea that you speak fluent Shona. Did I say that correctly?
No, I don't.
Why is
That's
that?
not true.
Oh,
Wow.
Wow.
Wow, Jordan. Wow.
Wrong.
Wow. No, I don't speak fluent Shona, but I am, like, my name is Shona. My dad's from Zimbabwe, and I wish I could speak fluent Shona. Wow. Maybe someday.
I was going to say, like, it seems like a very rare, hard language to.
I mean, maybe if you're from Zimbabwe, I'm sure it's not, but
Does your dad speak it?
he's kind of like, he moved to America when he was 5, so he never really spoke it like around the house or anything.
And
I'm
he's
sure
an
he can
acting
understand it.
I didn't know he was an acting professor.
Yeah, he is. Theater guy.
Theater guy.
Theater guy.
Sick.
Theater professor, yeah.
And your mom does physical therapy.
Uh-huh.
Both professors.
Yep.
Smart people.
Kind of ironic considering like I didn't go to college.
Oh, and you would have gotten a great deal.
Yeah.
Damn. Maybe next time.
Maybe next life.
Yeah. Tinashe, everybody. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Yay.